Once again I'm coming to the most famous endgame of my career against Vasilin Topalov in Linares 98. I already annotated this game in my DVD on Grunfeld. I mentioned there that it didn't have so much opening value, neither middle game value, because there were a lot of mistakes by both sides. Okay, now I can say that I consider it to be quite an interesting fighting game with many unforced errors on both sides, but still full of interesting moments. But okay, this DVD is on Endgame, so I prefer to concentrate just on this critical position. Okay, I have already demonstrated this game many times, and I would always do it from this position where the bishop sacrifice was made. And now I would like to move just one to go just one move earlier, not because to make any change with the demonstration, but due to the fact that, as I remember, the idea of bishop sacrifice occurred to me when I was thinking on my move king e6, not when I was thinking on my 47th move, which was the sacrifice itself. Of course, this move king e6 was the one that I was mainly considering. In fact, I could just play it and then start thinking after king g1, but okay, when the endgame arose, I tried to get deep into the position and just understand everything without making my move yet. And only when I already saw the whole idea, then I played king e6. So, what did I exactly think of? As I said, king e6 was the move that I mainly considered. But after king g1, I was thinking about king d6, which doesn't... after which white cannot take the pawn on f6 because of king c5, king f2, d4, and then king e2, king c4, and black is just in time to promote either a pawn in case of king d2, a3, or d pawn in case of bishop e7, king c3. So, if bishop takes f6 was the only move after king d6, king d6 would of course win. But the problem is that white can play king f2, king c5, king e3, and stop black from playing d4. After king c4, bishop takes f6, a3, let's say g3. Black cannot really make any progress at all, because when he tries king b3, white goes king d2. When he tries king a2, white goes king c1. So white always keeps black king from penetration, and his bishop keeps these passed pawns both d5 and a3. And this is typical case in opposite colored bishop endgames, that even two passed pawns can be kept, and then there is no possibility to make progress. So white just stands and does nothing, but black cannot do anything either. So I could quickly establish that king d6 wasn't really worth to try. So then, of course, I thought about penetration with my king through the center, through f5. No? So let's put bishop on c2. Well, any random move that I was considering at that moment. King f2, king f5, king e3. So now I cannot penetrate on e4 anymore, but what I can do is exchange my pawns. So king g4, bishop takes f6, king g3. And let's say white goes, okay, maybe bishop e7, king takes g2. And this is a very interesting moment, because let's say at the moment white can keep his bishop on e7 and king on e3, but not for long. Let's say he can play king d4, but after bishop b3, for sure he will have to go back with his king to e3. So now black in fact can start with some penetrating ideas. Let's say after bishop c4, white already is in some kind of Zugzwang. Okay, he can still play bishop a3 because the pawn on h4 is not yet hanging, but king g3, bishop e7, king g4. White has to make the decision already. And now to move the king is extremely dangerous, because then black comes with his king closer to the center, and once again a lot of zugzwangs may be possible. Okay, not exactly, yeah, because for example after king d4, king f3, king starts penetrating from e2, and this is very dangerous, probably lost for white. So basically king should be on d2, but then first white has to put the bishop on the right diagonal, bishop f6. So this allows a3, and okay, white can play bishop e7 just to provoke. No, bishop e7 white cannot play, because it's d4 check and white loses the game immediately. Okay, so white has already has to keep the bishop on this diagonal, allow a2, and also allow black king comes to come to e4. So, for example, if black plays king e3, white indeed has to play now bishop e7. This time it's necessary, because the b2 square should be under white's control. a2, bishop f6. Okay, we achieve more or less critical position. So I was thinking a little bit about this position during the game, and I thought it was winning. Good that I was not sure that whether it was winning or not, and I found the real winning way. Later analysis proved that this is drawn position. So what can black do? Black can black has various ideas, but the most natural one is to exchange. Well, to put the pawn on d3 first, let's say king e4. Okay, white now has to keep his bishop on b2 a1, d4 bishop a1. That's why it was important to have this b2 square under control, otherwise there would be zugzwangs. So d3, bishop b2. Yeah, and now it's black cannot make progress, because penetration with the king to b3 does not lead anywhere. So so basically black has to come back to this pawn on h4. And it's almost a zugzwang again, but not exactly. White can still play king e4, king e3, sorry. So now, yeah, now basically black is left with only one real winning try, which is exchange a pawn to the h1. a1 queen, bishop a1, king takes h4, and black can start advancing the g pawn. He does not have many problems to do it. White has to defend passively, but the passive defense is working. So let's say bishop d4, g5, king d2, g4, and bishop is now on this big diagonal. Sorry, a7, g1. So now, yeah, now critical moment comes. King h3, bishop b6, g3, bishop c5, let's say it this way. So, when black plays king h2, white is totally obliged to play bishop d6, otherwise g2 and black would win. But now, after king g2, white can just wait. No, white cannot wait. White has to. White is once again obliged to make his next move, which is bishop c5. Yes. This is the only trick white should know, and actually this is the trick which I missed during the game. Good that I didn't go for this line either. Because if white now goes king e1, then black achieves the win with king h3. Let's put it bishop c7, g2, king. Yes, then just king f2, d2. So bishop b6, king h2, and black wins. So after king h3, the question is why not bishop c5 again? Ah no, probably I was wrong here. Here it is still a draw. Yeah, here it is still a draw. Black. So it does not matter so much whether white king is on d2 or e1. It's well, in fact, what I'm saying, king must be on e1 because bishop c5 is of course king f1 and black wins. Sorry, so many years have passed since that game that I forgot some simple things about this endgame. So, yeah. So this position with the king on e1 that white has to achieve is essential for the draw. So here already I'm making a mistake. When black plays g3, white must play king e1. So okay, I will write just not to confuse. Yeah, white must play king e1. So, and this is with the king on e1, this is a fortress. So this is now after king g2, it's bishop b7, bishop c7, king g2, and now white must go back with his bishop. On b6, why do I say that he must? No. Once again, I say white must, but white must stand on this diagonal, on d6. Because if he plays bishop b6, then it's king h1. And black wins with g2, g1. Okay, so, but standing on this diagonal, white saves this endgame. So, as you see, the opposite colored bishops endgames, they are extremely complicated. In most cases, when two passed pawns, when they are on distance, are enough to win, but it looks like G and D pawns are not enough. So there are so many mysteries of these endgames. Actually, this drawn position was indicated to me by Mark Dvoretsky. I myself thought that it was winning for black, and then he just showed that no, it was draw. And now finally I remembered why. So okay, I was showing all these lines just to show that, in fact, there is no other way to win the game except what I did. So, and we come again to my old game against Ulf Andersson. When Ulf sacrificed this bishop on h4, okay, I was really shocked, but then of course I saw that this was the only way to win. So now during the game I thought maybe to play something similar, but then I thought it was a joke because, okay, now bishop h3 is not even taking a pawn. So I thought about this as a joke, and then suddenly saw that this was a winning move. Okay, so I already gave this explanation in my book and everywhere else, so it's not a new thing, but since I demonstrated my game against Andersson as well, so I wanted to tell the whole story. So, with this bishop h3, bishop sacrifice, things are quite simple. After g takes h3, black has to play king f5. Unfortunately, he cannot create three passed pawns because they will be blocked. f5, king f2, f4, king f3, and white just blocks the passed pawns. So, king f5, the king comes to the center. Okay, I have to sacrifice this another pawn on f6, but with d4, my position is winning. Okay, all this I calculated beforehand. So when I played king e6, so from here it wasn't so difficult. So now a3, a2 is unstoppable. The only move is bishop e7. Now king d3. The idea is king c2 and then d3, d2. So bishop c5 is trying to stop this black from playing king c2, but now it's a very important move, king c4, attacking the bishop. If I played king c3, yeah, I think then it would be a draw. King e1, d3, king d1. But after king c4, bishop e7, king b3, white had to resent because it's the same that black comes to this plan with king c2 and then pawn goes through. So it's interesting that only this year, and I'm talking about the year 2008, finally computer, precisely the Rybka program, was able to discover this bishop h3 move. So it might seem quite complicated. To me, of course, it seems simple because during these 10 years I already was answering many questions about this endgame and showed this several times. And after all, there are just 5 or 6 moves to calculate. So the only thing why this move is famous is because it's so unusual to give up the bishop, not even taking a pawn, just for nothing, and then sacrifice another pawn in order to achieve the maximum activity for the passed pawns. But once again, I say, as I remembered that idea from my game against Anderson, the rest was just very easy. I just saw the move and then calculated the rest. So, but okay, still it's of course a nice study-like move, and what is especially important, it's the only move that wins in the position, because as we could establish, all these positions with all these positions with 2 extra pawns, they cannot be won. So yeah, here actually made this I made some well, not exactly a mistake, but here I had to put king d4 as the main line, because bishop b4 and bishop c5 would be dangerous for white. Okay, the moment I gave 2 famous examples from my, let's say, opposite bishop card endgames practice. I have some more interesting opposite card bishop endgames, but with rooks on the board. I will come to them later. But now the next part of this DVD would be some rook endgames. I wanted to show 3 endgames of my career where 4 rooks were on the board. That means 2 rooks each. These endgames sometimes are very tricky and very interesting, so I hope you will enjoy them.